Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Global. We'll get you top stories from India and the region. I am Tanvi Taneja, and for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in Rome, Giles Gibson. Good to have you with us, Giles.
Hi Tanvi, it's 1:30 p.m. in Rome, and coming up in the next 30 minutes we'll be discussing the Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Europe, sitting down with his French counterpart as well as the leader of the European Commission, and we'll also get you the latest on the Eurovision Song Contest. But first, back to Tanvi with the headlines in New Delhi.
Israel begins evacuating part of Rafah as it prepares for a limited scope operation. Hamas decries this dangerous escalation. French President Emmanuel Macron welcomes China's President Xi Jinping for a rare visit at the Elysee Palace. The two P5 countries celebrate 60 years of diplomatic ties. And India prepares for phase 3 of world's largest democratic exercise as 93 seats across 12 states and union territories set for polling on Tuesday. Up first, news from West Asia. Evacuations are underway in Rafah since Israel has called on Palestinian civilians to leave the region as part of a limited scope operation is going to be conducted. The Israeli Defense Forces have said that it has expanded a humanitarian area in Al-Mawasi to accommodate the increased levels of aid flowing into Gaza. However, a senior Hamas official said that the evacuation order was a dangerous escalation that could have consequences. Earlier, Israel launched a counter-strike on Rafah after 3 Israeli soldiers were killed in a Hamas attack near the Palestinian city. Speaking to his U.S. counterpart Lloyd Austin, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant linked the Rafah operation to deadlock in truce talks, which he blamed on Hamas. Gallant told Austin that Hamas has refused the frameworks at hand. He added that military action in Rafah is required due to the lack of an alternative. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden will meet Jordan's King Abdullah II at the White House on Monday with prospects for a Gaza ceasefire. And for more on the situation in Gaza, DD India's Sarah Coates reports from Tel Aviv.
Right now, airdropping leaflets and also publishing maps as to where these people should go. We do believe that a ground operation down into the eastern part of Rafah could be imminent. The IDF has been telling these people, around 100,000 people, that it will be operating with force against these Hamas battalions that they do believe are stationed there, telling people to go to Al-Mawasi, which is on the coastline down in the southern part of Gaza, and also to go to Khan Yunis. Now, we do understand that the military is calling these humanitarian zones, but according to numerous sources on the ground, there is absolute chaos among these internally displaced Palestinians that have been sheltering in Rafah.
Life across Israel came to a halt on Monday morning as a 2-minute siren blared, marking a solemn moment of silence in honor of the Holocaust Remembrance Day in the backdrop of the October 7th Hamas attacks. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Isaac Herzog attended a wreath-laying ceremony at the Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial Museum in Jerusalem. Some soldiers also commemorated the day at the Nova Music Festival site in Raim in southern Israel. On to Europe now. Chinese President Xi Jinping is on a rare visit to France at the invitation of President Emmanuel Macron. It coincides with the 60th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties between the two countries. My colleague Giles Gibson is in Rome. He gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Giles, trade talks on top of the agenda?
Absolutely. Trade talks and recent trade tensions right at the top of the agenda as the Chinese President Xi Jinping meets with his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron in Paris. Now, the two leaders shook hands at the Élysée Palace in Paris as Macron welcomed Xi to the French capital for this rare visit against the backdrop, as I was saying, of mounting trade tensions with the European Union. Macron has urged his Chinese counterpart to reduce trade imbalances and to use his influence with Russia to end the war in Ukraine.
As agreed, I propose to first address Euro-Chinese relations, which will allow us to discuss trade issues such as access to markets and conditions of fair competition, investment and harmonious development. And secondly, we will discuss Ukraine and the Middle East, two major crises where coordination between us is absolutely decisive.
Now, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is also in Paris to meet with the Chinese President Xi Jinping, and von der Leyen has said that China and Europe share common interests in peace and security, but also she said they have differences on issues linked to market access and trade.
Both China and the European Union have a shared interest in peace and security and in the effective functioning of the rules-based international order, especially against a backdrop of a very turbulent environment, be it in Europe, in the Middle East, or in East Asia.
All right, let's get the latest on these meetings going on in the French capital. We're joined live by our correspondent, Ross Cullen. Ross, thanks very much for joining us. Just run us through the significance of Ursula von der Leyen being there for this meeting, as well as the fact that there's going to be that one-on-one meeting between Xi and Macron later on in the day.
Yeah, Giles, didn't quite hear you, but in terms of Ursula von der Leyen, she has spoken this morning, the President of the European Commission, addressing the trilateral talks that she held along with President Macron and President Xi, and the European Commission President, saying that there needs to be mutual respect on all sides. She said that Europe is determined to stop Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. She did say that Europe and China can work together on finding common solutions in areas where they do align, for example, the fight against climate change. But she did also warn that we need to avoid misunderstanding, particularly over state-induced overcapacity, unequal market access and over-dependencies, saying that they will form the basis of those talks to try to come to an agreement. The European Union is investigating China in many different domains over its procurement of medical devices, the provision of solar panels, wind turbines, electric cars. France is being investigated by China for the anti-dumping investigation that Beijing is launching related to cognac being sent from France to China. And Ursula von der Leyen saying we need to address these issues responsibly. So that's formed the end of that part of this day, where Ursula von der Leyen has also been invited. Now the focus is back on just President Xi and just President Macron working bilaterally together. They have talks coming up this afternoon.
All right, thanks very much, Ross. That was Ross Cullen reporting live for us from Paris. Let's get some other news from around Europe now, and the Kremlin says that Russia's tactical nuclear weapon drills are a response to statements from the West about sending troops to Ukraine. This comes after Russia said it would hold a military exercise on Monday that will include practice for the use of tactical nuclear weapons. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has cited comments by the French President Emmanuel Macron about potentially sending troops to be on the ground in Ukraine in the future, as well as recent statements from both UK and US lawmakers. In response, Kyiv says that the nuclear drills are nothing more than Russia's continuing nuclear blackmail. Now, the Russian Defense Ministry says that the military drill exercises are aimed at ensuring their territorial integrity and sovereignty in response to what they describe as threats by certain Western officials. DD India's Dasha Chernyshova sent us this report from Moscow.
Russia's general staff is now preparing for the drills that will include the practice for the use of the tactical nuclear weapons. On Monday, the Ministry of Defense said that that would be happening on the orders of the Russian President Vladimir Putin, who is expected to be inaugurated for his fifth term as president of the country on Tuesday. Now, we understand that the drills will involve the use of the military units from the Southern Military District, the use of aviation as well as naval forces, and it is aimed, according to the Ministry of Defense statement, at ensuring Russia's territorial integrity and sovereignty. All that is happening against the backdrop of the sour ties between Moscow and the West, and the Russian Ministry of Defense says that is happening in response to the provocative statements that Moscow has heard from the Western countries, from the Western officials. So Moscow has been saying long before that Moscow is monitoring all of the statements coming from the Western countries, and most recently Moscow has said it has recorded an escalation in the rhetoric regarding the West's participation and involvement into the conflict in Ukraine.
The latest on the conflict in Ukraine from our correspondent in Moscow, Dasha Chernyshova there. Let's move on to our final piece for the day, and we're shifting gears here slightly, and Eurovision 2024 is underway in the Swedish city of Malmö, where 37 contenders walked not exactly the red carpet, but a turquoise carpet. The focus of the 68th version of this contest is expected to be on the Israeli contestant Eden Golan, as she's set to perform her song named Hurricane in the second semi-final on Thursday. That, of course, against the backdrop of the ongoing conflict in Gaza. The big five of the European Broadcasting Union, that's the UK, France, Germany, Spain and Italy, are automatically given a spot in the final, while other contenders compete in semi-finals for the remaining places. And I have to say, a tradition generally is that the UK doesn't get very many votes in these Eurovision contests, but we'll have to see how they get on in the coming days. Well, that's it from us here in Rome. Back to Tanvi in the studio in New Delhi.
Thank you, Giles. Pleasure having you. That was my colleague, Giles Gibson, joining us from Rome. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. Azerbaijan celebrates Carpet Weavers' Day by covering central Baku in carpets. And Indore, Madhya Pradesh's cleanest city in India, offers a pink bus exclusively for women passengers, run by women staff.
Versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
Thank you for staying with us on DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. Up next, we get you the latest on the world's largest democratic elections underway in India. The third phase of Lok Sabha elections 2024 in India will be held on Tuesday, the 7th of May, with voters in 93 constituencies across 10 states and 1 union territory going to polls. Elaborate arrangements are in place, with polling parties being dispatched to their respective polling stations ahead of the polls. All 25 seats of Gujarat, 14 seats of Karnataka, 11 seats of Maharashtra, 10 seats of Uttar Pradesh and a union territory of Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu will go to polls in this phase. As many as 1,351 candidates are in the fray for the third phase of polls. Fates of many important leaders, including senior BJP leader and Home Minister Amit Shah, rebel BJP leader K.S. Eshwarappa, Union Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia, Samajwadi Party's Dimple Yadav, former Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan and SCP leader Supriya Sule. All these candidates' fates will be sealed in the ballot boxes tomorrow. With the mercury rising, commuting for work becomes all the more difficult for some in India. But wait, not so for the women in Indore, which have the unique distinction of being the cleanest city in the country. Indore has something cool to offer. DD India's Vishal Barristow hops onto a bus with an all-woman staff meant exclusively for women passengers.
It's the best deal on wheels. A very proud Ritu drives through the central Indian city of Indore. Ritu has been driving this special bus for quite some time, with a sense of immense responsibility.
It gives me a lot of pride as I drive these women to their destinations.
This is a special bus only meant for ladies, and Ritu is equally supported by Pushpa, the conductor of the bus.
I feel very good working as a conductor of the bus.
A safe, comfortable and smooth ride that does not hurt your pocket. This bus has a lot to offer for the eves in the city. This special bus is called I-Bus. I means me, and I in the regional language of Marathi also means mother. In the hustle and bustle of daily life and the heat of summer, this bus is an absolute luxury for these women. Let's find out what do they have to say about this facility.
About 6 months I've been traveling in I-Bus, and the facilities that I-Bus provide are real-time CCTV, so the traveling is safe in I-Bus, and there are route performance indicators in the I-Bus as well as, and the fares are also normal, so it is very safe to travel in I-Bus.
Run by the Atal Indore City Transport Limited, this electric bus is very popular with the students as well.
I'm traveling in this bus since 2 years, and I find this bus really nice, and because I've seen this first time it's a full women centric bus, so I like this bus.
I've been traveling in this bus for past 2-3 years now, and this bus is extremely comfortable and nice, and I love this bus a lot.
Available all 7 days in a week, the bus covers a distance of 11.5 kilometers and has 21 stops in between.
Now on to West Bengal's Murshidabad, where the brass and bell metal industry workers are staring at a dwindling fate. Their business has shrunk to a fourth of what it used to be over time due to increase in prices of raw materials and other market forces. In this election season, the city's brass and bell metalware stakeholders wish that the elected representatives will save their vocation from perishing.
West Bengal's Murshidabad is known for its traditional brass and bell metalware since the pre-colonial days. The creations range from intricate deities and other figurines to utensils and bells. While brass is a combination of copper and zinc, a major component of bell metal is also tin, which gives it more luster. It's also more expensive and considered ideal for metal kitchenware. But it has been losing out to steel, and its sellers say their business now is not even a fourth of what it used to be.
The increase in the price of raw materials has reduced its demand significantly. It is used in weddings and ceremonies, and nowadays more steel is used. Only 25% of it is left. Because it has a resale value, it also has no side effect.
While the mercury crosses 40 degrees Celsius in India's unforgiving summer, these workers toil away in subpar working conditions. Researchers say their posture and environment cause many health problems.
Basically, we have found that they are suffering from low back pain due to their movements, frequent movements. They have problems in wrist movement and they feel shoulder pain as well. And the condition that should be maintained in a factory, in a working environment, that is not maintained. It's not like that they are not maintaining, they are unable to maintain it.
The working conditions in these brass and bell metal factories are tough to say the least. Factory owners say that many of their workers have left for better pay. And at one time, a study says in 1944-45, there were 180 factories in this area in Murshidabad district. Now, barely 20 are left.
Many people have left. New people are not coming to learn this. Those who were working before they are only ones still working now.
Both the workers and factory owners say that the government needs to support and handhold them with some subsidy, market access support, cheaper raw materials and other measures. Otherwise, the skill and industry both will perish.
We want a lot from the government, but we need to come together to fight for it. There is a lot of competition among us, because of which we don't get good money for our hard work. A lot of workers have left to work in Kerala and other outside places like Delhi. They are here only when there is work.
Murshidabad goes to polls in the third of the 7-phased Indian national elections on Tuesday. With elections around the corner, the city's brass and bell metalware stakeholders are hoping that dire conditions will also be addressed by the elected representatives. With camera person Uttam Singh, Gautam Roy, Murshidabad, DD India.
And campaigning for the fourth phase of India's elections, scheduled for May 13th, gains momentum as political leaders are holding rallies and roadshows across the nation in order to garner support of voters in favour of their party candidates. Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Odisha this morning and also went to neighbouring Andhra Pradesh on a whirlwind campaign trail. The Prime Minister held a rally in Odisha's Behrampur where he exuded confidence that the BJP will win elections and will emerge as the new hope for the people of the state.
ओडिशा में बीजेडी अस्त है, कांग्रेस पस्त है और लोग बीजेपी पर आश्वस्त है और सिर्फ भाजपा उम्मीदों का नया सूरज बनकर आई है.
The Indian Prime Minister also addressed a rally in Nabarangpur in Odisha, where he spoke of his government's commitment to root out corruption through direct benefit transfer scheme to the people. With campaigning reaching its zenith for the subsequent phases of India's general elections, senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah held a roadshow in Krishnanagar, West Bengal, in support of BJP candidate Amrita Roy. Crowds gathered as the roadshow traversed through the lanes and by-lanes of Krishnanagar, located in Nadia district of West Bengal. Later, Amit Shah addressed a rally in Durgapur, where he called upon the people to vote for Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
नरेंद्र मोदी जी को तीसरी बार प्रधानमंत्री बनाने का मतलब है देश के अर्थतंत्र को दुनिया में तीसरे नंबर पर पहुंचाने का काम करना. नरेंद्र मोदी को तीसरी बार प्रधानमंत्री बनाने का मतलब है देश में से आतंकवाद और नक्सलवाद को समाप्त कर देना. 3 करोड़ गरीब बहनों को लखपति दीदी बनाना.
Opposition leaders on the campaign trail are also traversing the length and breadth of the country seeking support for their candidates. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi addressed a rally in Ratlam in central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh, where he categorically spoke of holding a caste census if voted to power.
हमने निर्णय लिया है कि हम जाति जनगणना करने जा रहे हैं. जाति जनगणना से आपको पता लग जाएगा कि आपकी आबादी कितनी है और देश की संस्थाओं में आपकी भागीदारी कितनी है। इकोनॉमिक सर्वे होगा और सबको पता लग जाएगा कि इतने % आदिवासी हैं, इतना धन उनके हाथ में है, इतनी संस्थाओं में उनके लोग हैं। ये क्रांतिकारी काम है, इससे हिंदुस्तान की राजनीतिक बदलने जा रही है और हम ये आपके लिए करने जा रहे हैं।
While the Congress candidate from Northeast Delhi, Kanhaiya Kumar, filed his nomination today, voting in Delhi is scheduled for May 25th in the 6th phase of India's general election. And now we take a look at what else is happening around the world. Days after Berlin accused Moscow of launching cyber attacks on its defense and aerospace firms and ruling party, Germany recalled Ambassador Alexander Graf Lambsdorff for consultation. According to a spokesperson for the Foreign Ministry, the ambassador will return to Berlin in line with the diplomatic protocol. Panama's former Security Minister Jose Raul Mulino won the presidential elections on Sunday, securing about 34% of the total ballots. Mulino will assume office on July 1st for a 5-year term. Mulino had earlier served as Interior and Security Minister during former popular leader Ricardo Martinelli's administration from 2009 to 2014. Azerbaijan observed the National Carpet Weaver Day on Sunday with carpets decorating the streets of the capital city Baku. Demonstrating various patterns and vivid colors, each of these carpets varied from region to region and community to community, flourished in the Middle Ages. The nuances of the art have been passed on for generations. The Azerbaijani carpet weaving was enlisted as intangible cultural heritage of humanity in 2010. The Darjeeling Himalayan Railway is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Built in 1881, it helped connect the hills of Darjeeling with the plains, bringing down the prices of essential commodities and helping in the export of tea. It established Darjeeling on the world map. More than 140 years later, the Darjeeling Railway still runs on a small stretch between Darjeeling and Ghum, transporting people back in time. Mark Lin reports.
The Darjeeling Himalayan Railway isn't just a stretch of tracks. It's a historical marvel that winds its way through time and terrain. It has UNESCO World Heritage status because it is an innovative transportation system developed in the 19th century that transformed the landscape of the Darjeeling Hills from a cluster of huts to a bustling hub of culture and commerce. In 1878, Franklin Prestige, regarded as the founder of this Wonder Rail link, saw immense possibilities in linking the hills of Darjeeling and the plains by rail. Prices of essential commodities were 3 times dearer in the hills than in the plains. The railway over time was able to bring down the cost of essential commodities between Darjeeling and Siliguri and carry tea for export, which established Darjeeling on the world map. Technologically, it became viable because of the tiny 2-foot gauge and small locomotives that were powerful enough to climb steep gradients. UNESCO World Heritage Committee inscribed DHR as a World Heritage Site on the 5th of December 1999 because it is an outstanding example of the influence of an innovative transportation system on socio-economic development of a multicultural region, which was to serve as a model for similar developments in many parts of the world. Today, a short ride on this gateway to the spectacular Himalayas is all that remains, and it is full of mystery and imagination. The tiny 4-wheeled steam locomotive is a living legend of the 19th century, and looking out at the mesmerizing scenery literally transports one back in time, one whistle at a time.
History is not wars, it is. That's all in this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on our different social media handles, Facebook, X and Instagram. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on your screen to download now. So we will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.